Get over here, loser! The bully's voice roared through the classroom as his arm clamped tight around her neck. The room erupted with cruel laughter, sneakers stomping on the tiled floor, the sound echoing off the walls. The black girl struggled, her face twisted in pain, books scattering from her hands while the bullies sneered louder. But what they didn't know, the girl they thought was weak was trained, powerful, and more dangerous than they could ever imagine. This wasn't just a fight, it was about to become a lesson they'd never forget. Hello, family. Welcome back. Before we begin, I have a small but heartfelt request. Please subscribe. Your support is what keeps these stories alive. Every time you click that button, you're helping us share voices that deserve to be heard and stories that carry powerful lessons. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from and what you think about this moment. The morning bell rang at Riverton High, its shrill echo bouncing off the walls of the bustling hallway. Students rushed between classes, the chatter of teenagers filling the air. At the far end of the hall, Amara Daniels walked with her books clutched tightly to her chest. 17 years old, she was quiet, disciplined, and always focused on her studies. What most people didn't know was that behind her calm eyes lay years of training, sweat, and discipline in mixed martial arts. She was strong, stronger than anyone could imagine, but she had no interest in flaunting it. To the bullies, though, her silence made her a target. "Hey, look who it is!" A voice boomed, dripping with arrogance. Tyler Grant, the school's star athlete and self-proclaimed king of Riverton High, leaned against the lockers with his Letterman jacket stretched across his broad shoulders. His crew, 3 other boys dressed the same, snickered behind him like a pack of wolves circling prey. Amara tried to ignore them, keeping her head down, her footsteps steady. But Tyler wasn't about to let her slip past. He shoved off the lockers, stepping into her path, his grin wide and cruel. "Where do you think you're going, huh?" He barked, his voice rising to draw attention. "Don't walk past me like I'm invisible." Before Amara could react, Tyler's arm shot out, wrapping around her neck from behind in a crude chokehold. Her books tumbled to the floor, pages scattering across the hallway. Gasps filled the air as other students stopped, frozen, some pulling out their phones, eager to capture the spectacle. "Come on, Amara," Tyler mocked, tightening his grip while his friends laughed. "Say something." "Oh, wait, you never do. You just walk around here acting like you're too good for us." Her breath caught, and her hands instinctively went to his arm. She could have broken free in seconds. Her body remembered the drills, the counters, the power waiting in her fists, but she hesitated. She had promised herself not to fight, not to unleash what she'd learned outside the gym, unless it was truly necessary. But Tyler squeezed harder, his arm pressing against her throat, and her vision blurred for a moment. "Tyler, stop!" one of the girls watching shouted, but her voice was drowned by the laughter of the other bullies. "Yeah, choke her out, man," another boy jeered. "Show her who runs this school." Amara's knees buckled, her body stumbling forward as Tyler's grip held her in place. She coughed, gasping for air, her heart pounding. Every muscle in her body screamed to react, to explode, to put him down with the training she had mastered since she was a little girl. But in that moment, all she could hear was his voice, low and cruel, hissing into her ear. "You don't belong here, Amara. You never will." Her eyes burned, not with tears, but with fire. The humiliation, the laughter, the phones capturing her pain, it all swirled inside her like gasoline waiting for a spark. Tyler didn't know it. His friends didn't know it. Not even the students recording knew it. But the spark was already lit. She planted her feet, steadying herself. Slowly, she lifted her head, her eyes locking onto her reflection in the glass of a nearby classroom door. Her face was red from the choke, but her gaze was sharp, unbroken. And in that moment, Amara made a silent vow. She would not stay silent. She would not stay weak. She would remind every single person in that hallway, that sometimes the quietest person in the room is the most dangerous one. The laughter around her grew, the mocking voices louder, but Amara's breathing steadied. She let her hands drop from Tyler's arm, no longer struggling. He mistook it for surrender. And that was his biggest mistake. The hallway buzzed with energy, a cruel circus of laughter and jeers. Tyler's grip around Amara's neck tightened, his bicep pressing against her throat as his friends egged him on. The scene had become a spectacle. Students leaning against lockers, phones raised, waiting for her to collapse. "Look at her face turning red," one boy hollered. "She can't even fight back," another sneered. "All bark, no bite." Amara's body sagged for a moment, her shoulders dropping as if she'd finally given up. Tyler smirked, thinking he had broken her spirit. He leaned closer to her ear, his breath hot and mocking. "Knew you were nothing but a weak little girl." But then it happened. Amara's hands, which had fallen limp at her sides, suddenly shot up. With precision and speed born from endless hours on the mat, she clamped onto Tyler's arm, twisted her body and dropped her weight. His cocky grin vanished as pain shot through his elbow, forcing him to release his chokehold. "What the?" he gasped, stumbling back. In an instant, Amara spun around, her stance low, balanced, her eyes sharp as blades. The hallway went silent. Phones lowered. Even the laughter died as everyone realized this wasn't the same Amara they thought they knew. Tyler shook his arm, grimacing. "What did you just do?" he barked, his bravado cracking. Amara didn't answer. She didn't need to. The fire in her eyes said everything. "You picked the wrong girl," she whispered, her voice low but burning with power. Tyler's friends rushed forward, ready to back him up. One of them lunged, reaching for Amara's shoulder. Without hesitation, she sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, and yanked him forward. With a swift pivot, she used his momentum against him, flipping him onto the floor with a thud that echoed through the hallway. Gasps erupted from the crowd. "Holy crap!" someone shouted. "Did you see that?" The second friend hesitated, his confidence wavering. But Tyler, red with embarrassment, shoved him forward. "Don't just stand there. Get her." The boy charged, but Amara was already moving. She ducked under his clumsy swing, drove her elbow into his stomach, and swept his legs out from under him. He collapsed, wheezing, the fight knocked out of him before it had even started. Now it was just Tyler. His eyes darted from his groaning friends on the ground back to Amara, who stood tall, her breathing steady, her stance unshaken. She wasn't just defending herself. She was commanding the entire hallway. "Tyler," Amara's voice rang out, strong, clear. "You wanted everyone to watch? Good. Because now they'll see exactly who you are, a coward who picks on those you think are weak." The students around them erupted into whispers, their loyalty shifting. Some who had been laughing moments before now looked at Tyler with disgust. Others raised their phones again, but this time to capture something entirely different. His downfall. Red-faced, Tyler growled and lunged at her with all his weight swinging wildly. But Amara didn't flinch. With a sharp sidestep, she caught his arm, twisted, and in one seamless motion, brought him crashing against the lockers. The metal banged loud, the vibration rattling down the hallway. Tyler slumped, gasping, his pride shattered. The crowd roared, not with laughter this time, but with awe. "No way! Amara just dropped Tyler. She's a fighter!" Amara stood over him, her chest rising and falling with steady breaths. She hadn't thrown a punch, hadn't struck with unnecessary violence. Every move had been clean, controlled, precise. An MMA fighter's discipline. Tyler glared up at her, humiliated. "This isn't over," he spat, clutching his side. Amara's gaze didn't waver. "It never should have started," she shot back. And with that, she turned away, her dignity intact, her silence now replaced with power. For the first time, Riverton High saw her not as a quiet girl to be mocked, but as someone who could no longer be broken. But little did Amara know, this fight was only the beginning. The air in the hallway was thick with shock. Students whispered, their voices clashing like static. Tyler's friends were still groaning on the floor, one clutching his ribs, another holding his wrist, while Tyler himself leaned against the lockers, gasping for breath and nursing his bruised pride. Amara didn't celebrate. She didn't smile. She adjusted her backpack strap, straightened her posture, and began walking down the hallway. Each step was steady, controlled, like a fighter leaving the ring, but she could feel the eyes burning into her back. "Did you record that?" a girl hissed, pulling on her friend's arm. "Yeah, whole thing. It's already on TikTok." Within minutes, Amara's name was no longer whispered. It was shouted, spreading across Riverton High like wildfire. By the time she entered her next class, students were already passing phones around, the clip replaying, Tyler lunging, Amara flipping him, the lockers crashing. "Yo, that was insane!" someone gasped. "She took down 3 guys in, like, 30 seconds. She's some kind of ninja or something." "No, man," another corrected, wide-eyed. "That was MMA. My cousin trains, that's legit." Tyler stormed into the classroom a few minutes later, his face still flushed with humiliation. His friends trailed behind him, moving slower than usual, limping slightly. The laughter and whispers shifted like a tide as they walked in. For the first time, the bullies weren't in control of the room. "You think this is funny?" Tyler snapped, his voice cracking as he pointed at a group snickering in the corner. "Delete those videos right now!" But no one listened. If anything, the laughter grew. Amara sat quietly at her desk, eyes on her notebook, but her heart raced. She knew the fight wasn't over. Bullies like Tyler didn't accept defeat. They plotted revenge. By lunch, the story had spread beyond the school. Parents were calling. Teachers whispered in the staff lounge. Even the principal had been alerted. Amara walked into the cafeteria and felt the shift immediately. Heads turned. Conversations hushed. Then, applause broke out from a corner table. At first, she froze, unsure. But the clapping grew, spreading across the room like wildfire. Students pounded the tables, cheering. "Amara! Amara! Amara!" Her cheeks burned. She hadn't wanted this attention. She hadn't fought to prove anything to anyone. She had fought to survive. Still, the recognition was a taste of justice. But Tyler wasn't finished. He stood up at his table, slamming his tray down. "Shut up!" he shouted, his voice desperate, breaking through the cheers. "She's nothing. You all think she's special? She sucker-punched us." The cafeteria fell silent, the energy shifting back to tension. All eyes were on Amara. Slowly, she rose from her seat, calm, unshaken. Her voice carried across the room without needing to shout. "I didn't sucker-punch anyone, Tyler. I defended myself. You put your arm around my throat and thought I'd just take it. Not anymore." The words cut through the cafeteria like a blade. Tyler's jaw clenched, his fists tight, but the students weren't with him anymore. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. "She's right. She didn't even hit him, just used his own weight." Man, Tyler got wrecked. Tyler's face turned crimson. He lunged across the room, but 2 teachers rushed in, intercepting him. "That's enough!" one shouted, holding him back. As Tyler was dragged from the cafeteria, Amara sat down, her pulse finally slowing. But her relief was short-lived, because at that very moment, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number lit up the screen. "Enjoy your little spotlight. It won't last." Amara's stomach dropped. Whoever sent it wasn't just a bully. They were planning something bigger. And deep down, Amara knew this battle was only moving into the next round. The cafeteria incident should have been the end of it. Tyler humiliated. The truth out, Amara vindicated. But boys like Tyler didn't let wounds heal. They picked at them until they bled. That night, videos of Amara's takedown spread like wildfire across social media. TikTok clips, Instagram reels, even a YouTube compilation. "Girl destroys 3 bullies at once," racked up thousands of views. Comments flooded in. "Queen." "Tyler got humbled. She's a beast. Respect." Amara sat in her room, the glow of her phone lighting her face. She didn't want fame. She wanted peace. Yet, every ping, every share was another reminder that her life had just shifted. She wasn't invisible anymore. But across town, Tyler scrolled through those same clips, rage boiling in his veins. His pride, his kingdom of fear, had collapsed in less than a minute. His phone buzzed with texts from teammates mocking him. Even his own girlfriend posting a laughing emoji under one of the videos. Tyler smashed his phone against the wall. "She's dead," he muttered, pacing like a caged animal. "I'll end her." The next morning, Riverton High was electric. Students gathered in clusters, whispering about Amara. Teachers tried to restore order, but the energy was uncontrollable. Amara walked into the building, head held high. She felt the eyes again, but they weren't mocking anymore. They were admiring, respectful. Still, her gut twisted. The anonymous text from last night haunted her. Halfway through second period, it happened. The fire alarm blared, shrill and unrelenting. Students poured into the hallways, the usual mix of confusion and excitement. But as Amara stepped into the crowd, she felt it. The shift, the trap. Tyler and 5 of his football teammates blocked the exit doors, their faces hard, eyes locked on her. Tyler's lip curled into a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "Round 2, he growled. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones rose instantly, hungry for the next viral clip. Amara's chest tightened, but she stood her ground. "You don't learn, do you?" Tyler lunged, faster this time, fury fueling his movements. His arm swung wide, aiming for her head. But Amara ducked, her reflexes sharp, her training precise. She drove her shoulder into his torso, sending him stumbling back into his teammates. The crowd roared. One of the boys charged, grabbing her arm, but she twisted free, delivered a clean palm strike to his chest, and shoved him hard enough to knock him into a locker. Another came at her from the side, and she swept his leg, sending him crashing to the floor with a groan. Every move was efficient, controlled. She wasn't lashing out. She was dismantling them piece by piece. Tyler roared, charging again, but Amara sidestepped, hooked his arm, and slammed him against the wall. This time, she didn't let go. She pressed her forearm against his chest, pinning him. "Listen to me," she hissed, her voice low but carrying across the silent hallway. "I'm done hiding. I'm done letting you choke me, humiliate me, make me feel small. You want to fight? Fight yourself. Because you'll never break me." Tyler struggled, but the strength in her hold made his face flush with panic. His teammates groaned on the floor, beaten not by violence, but by their own arrogance. The students erupted, cheers thundering through the hallways. "Amara! Amara! Amara!" Teachers rushed in, breaking through the wall of phones. "Enough! Everyone to class!" But it was too late. The message had already been delivered. Amara released Tyler, letting him drop to the floor like a discarded shadow. She stood tall, chest rising and falling, her eyes blazing with fire. And in that moment, Riverton High knew Amara Daniels wasn't a victim. She was a warrior. But Tyler, clutching his bruised chest and gasping for breath, muttered one last threat under his breath. "This isn't over." The chaos of the second fight ripped through Riverton High like a storm. By the time Amara sat in the principal's office later that afternoon, the entire school was buzzing. Videos of her dismantling Tyler and his friends spread faster than wildfire. Teachers huddled in the hallway, parents flooded the phones, and students chanted her name on social media like she was a legend born in real time. Principal Harris, a balding man with nervous eyes, sat behind his desk, tapping his pen. "Amara," he said, voice cautious. "Do you understand the gravity of this situation? 5 boys injured, a hallway destroyed, and you in the middle of it." Amara sat upright, her eyes calm but blazing with conviction. "They attacked me, twice. I didn't start it, but I won't apologize for defending myself." Harris hesitated. He wanted to scold her, to remind her of school rules, but the evidence was overwhelming. Dozens of videos, hundreds of witnesses. Everyone had seen Tyler choke her. Everyone had seen the cruelty, the arrogance, the humiliation. And everyone had seen Amara rise. Before Harris could answer, the door burst open. Tyler's father stormed in, his expensive suit and booming voice filling the room. "This is unacceptable! That girl assaulted my son. I demand her expulsion immediately." Tyler followed, his face bruised, his pride shattered. He glared at Amara with venom. "You ruined me," he spat. But Amara didn't flinch. She leaned forward, her voice steady. "You ruined yourself, Tyler. and everyone saw it. The office door opened again. This time, Amara's mother stepped in. A nurse still in her scrubs, her face tight with fury. She walked straight past Tyler and stood behind her daughter, placing a firm hand on her shoulder. "My daughter is not the problem," she said, her voice sharp as glass. "Your son is. He choked her in front of half the school. He and his friends ambushed her during a fire drill. If Amara hadn't defended herself, we'd be talking about her being in a hospital bed instead of here." Tyler's father turned red. "This is slander." "No," Principal Harris interrupted, finally finding his backbone. He tapped his desk, opening a laptop. "It's evidence. We have multiple videos. Your son's behavior is indefensible." The room fell silent. Tyler's smirk cracked. His father faltered, eyes darting to the screen as the videos played. His son choking a girl, his son being flipped, his son humiliated. The final blow wasn't Amara's fists. It was the truth, captured forever. Harris closed the laptop with a snap. Effective immediately, Tyler Grant is suspended indefinitely, pending expulsion. His teammates involved are suspended as well. The color drained from Tyler's face. His father sputtered, but the decision was final. The balance of power had shifted, and no amount of money or influence could reverse it. Amara rose from her chair, her mother at her side. She looked Tyler in the eye, her voice calm, almost quiet. "You thought I was weak. You thought I'd stay silent. But you'll remember this every time you walk into a room and people laugh, not at me, but at you." Her words cut deeper than any strike. Tyler's fists clenched, but his body sagged. He had lost. Not just the fight, not just his pride. He had lost everything. As Amara walked out of the office, the hallway erupted. Students stood, cheering, clapping, chanting her name. "Amara! Amara! Amara!" The sound thundered through the school like victory drums. She didn't raise her fists. She didn't smile. She simply walked through the sea of faces, her head high, her fire unbroken. For the first time, Riverton High understood the truth. Amara Daniels wasn't just a quiet girl or a victim or a target. She was a fighter, a warrior, a force they could never choke, never silence, never break. And as the chants followed her out the door, Amara knew one thing for certain. Her story had only just begun. And in that moment, the bullies who thought they ruled the school were silenced forever. The girl they choked, mocked, and humiliated became the fighter who flipped their world upside down. Tyler thought he was untouchable, but Amara's strength left him crawling in shame. Now let me ask you, if you were in her shoes, would you have stayed silent and endured? Or would you have fought back with everything you had? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to see where you stand. Before you scroll, smash that subscribe button, turn on the bell, and share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Because trust me, the next story we bring you, it'll shake you even harder than this one.